That's a great pleasure to see you again. And thank you, Chaviji, for your help. So we'll try to, as usual, to cultivate a great motivation in order to understand our mind and to generate qualities, to increase the qualities that are part of our Buddha nature for the sake of all the beings. Yeah, thank you so much. And we'll try to recap a little bit what we saw last time. It was maybe, yeah, one countless era in the past. Okay, so let's try to see, yes, it was during the previous season, we checked, selfless, non-existent, existent, and so on. And among phenomena, we have permanent phenomena and also impermanent phenomena, yeah? Okay, and among impermanent phenomena, we have form, cognition, and non-associated compositional factor or non-associated compositional phenomenon. Okay, and we are studying the cognitions. Yeah, so they are very important, of course, because we need to clarify what types of cognitions we have. Some are totally mistaken, some are totally wrong or deceptive, and some are very useful, yeah? So we try to sort out what kind of cognitions we have. And we just touched that point that the cognitions could be divided into many different types of divisions, but one of them is mental factor and main mind. So we saw that. And also now we are delving into the non-conceptual cognitions, yeah, because we are in the direct perceptions. Yeah, you remember? Okay, very good. So it follows that you can posit the definition of, what could we say? Okay, direct perception, easy. Like a mantra, puff, 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 puff. So powerful, even more powerful than Arya Manjushri's mantra. So,
Cognition that is non-mistaken and free of conceptuality.
yes, very good, fantastic. Cognition, which is free from conceptualization and non-mistaken, yeah. So, yeah, it is in order to discard the Vaibhashika point of view. Yeah, because for the Vaibhashika, the sense power, for instance, sees the object as well. Yeah, so we would say no, in the Sautrantika and the higher tenets, we would say no, only a cognition, only a mental event is able to see or hear or understand anything. Yeah. Yeah, is that clear for everyone? Yeah, okay. A sense power is necessarily a physical sense power is form. Yeah. Okay, very good. So we'll delve into that. Yeah. Okay, non-conceptual. Okay, so Ziglunda already gave the definition. The definition of direct perception is cognition which is free from conceptualization and non-mistaken. Yeah, topa don't very good. Okay. So it has to be a cognition and it is free from conceptualization means do you hear me? Because yeah, it was frozen. Okay. Yeah, and yeah, free from conceptualization is very specific because we could say, for instance, is a person a conceptual phenomenon?
Yes,
Okay. It is because
because it has no form or because it is a concept.
it follows that the person is permanent because the concept is permanent. A meaning generality is permanent, yeah, temporary permanent, yeah. So it follows that the person is permanent.
Why?
So it follows that the person is not permanent.
Except
Okay, the subject, the person is not permanent because?
because it's impermanent.
Okay. It follows that if it is impermanent, it's necessarily not permanent.
Except
Okay, the subject, the person is impermanent because?
it's an non-associative compositional factor.
Okay, it
It's
follows.
momentary.
Yes, it follows that if it is NECP or compositional factor or momentary, it's necessarily impermanent.
Except
Okay, so it follows that the subject, the person, is not conceptual.
except
Yes, but is the person free from conceptualization?
no. Why?
No, because we have conceptualizations, yeah? We have concepts, yeah? So the person is non-conceptual, but is not free from conceptualization. That's why here they use the very specific term free from conceptualization. Yeah? Torpa dangel or torgel in Tibetan. Yeah? It means it is free from conceptualization because we could say the person is not conceptual, but is not free from conceptualization. Yeah. So that's why we have to discard totally the fact that a direct perception could have or be associated with conceptualizations at all. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just a tiny point. Yeah. But we will see with the self-cognition that we have some issues with that. Yeah. Okay. We will see that. Okay. Very good. And non-mistaken, it follows that you can posit the definition of a non-mistaken consciousness.
That which is non-mistaken with respect to its object of appearance.
Okay, it follows that the subject of cognition, which is not mistaken with regard to its appearing object or object of appearance, is the definition of a non-mistaken consciousness.
Accept.
Very good. Fantastic, yeah. Okay, so a direct perception is necessarily not mistaken with regard to its appearing object. Yeah, fantastic, very good. Okay. Okay, so we have the first type, the sense direct perceptions. Yeah, how many do we have? It follows you can posit the main divisions of the sense direct perceptions.
The eye consciousness, yeah, like nose consciousness, ear consciousness, tactile consciousness, and I don't know the other one in English.
Yes, tactile.
Taste
Ah,
consciousness.
taste, yeah, okay.
Taste
Very good.
consciousness.
Yes, fantastic. Okay, so let's see the definition. Yeah, maybe you already learned by heart all the definitions I provided. I'm not sure. Yeah, the definition rangi tumon mayimpe daken wambo zuchenpa sorry. Rangi tumon mayimpe daken du gyurbe wambo zuchenpa la teneke pa kanshik toba no deshima truweri pa. Yeah, that's the definition of a sense direct perception. So in English, let's see. Okay, so we have a cognition which is free from conceptualization and non-mistaken, which is produced in dependence on a physical sense power that has become its uncommon dominant condition. Wow. Okay. So yes, it's a bit technical, but the meaning is not so difficult. Yeah, the meaning is not so difficult because it follows, okay, we can debate that. It follows that the sense direct perception is necessarily a direct perception.
Except
Accept.
Okay, it is necessarily a direct perception because
it's a cognition that is free from conceptuality and non-mistaken.
exactly, yeah, exactly. If it is a cognition which is free from conceptuality or conceptualization and non-mistaken, it's necessarily a direct perception, yeah. So that's why the definition of a sense direct perception has to include the definition of a direct perception. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And maybe we need which is produced as well. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, because English is not my mother tongue, so I can make mistakes in the definitions. But we could say and which is produced in dependence on a physical sense power. Yeah. So it follows that you can posit the physical sense power of an eye direct perception.
The eye.
Yes, we could say
Or the
that.
retina inside the eye.
Yes. Yes, we could say that it's the clear form, yeah, the clear form which is within the eye. Yeah, it's not really the eye organ, it is inside the eye. Yeah, so in the Abhidharma, we would say it's a very subtle form which is in the eye. Yeah. Okay, we could say, okay, the eye sense power. It follows that the subject, the eye sense power, is the physical sense power in dependence on which an eye consciousness is produced.
Except.
Yes, very good. Very good. Yeah, that's quite easy. Yeah. Okay. That has become its uncommon dominant condition. Yeah. Rangi tumu moimpedaken du gyurbe. Yeah. So it's just a very literal way to translate that. So you remember we had the dominant condition for an eye consciousness, apprehending a mango, for instance. Yeah. Earlier we saw that. Yeah. Okay. So we have the object condition, the dominant condition, and the immediately preceding condition. Yeah. Maybe I have some slides here about that. Yes. Okay. For the yes. Good. Okay. Okay. So we have that, yeah, we have the three conditions, yeah. Yeah, object condition would be the mango, the dominant condition would be the eye sense power, and the immediately preceding condition. So here we speak about an uncommon dominant condition. Yeah, what is the difference between the common dominant condition and the uncommon dominant condition? Do you have an idea?
Maybe
Yeah. Yes, please.
maybe very specific to eye versus ear. If it has to be uncommon. It is so maybe tactile is everywhere, but
Mm.
eye is specific to eyes, ear is specific to ear.
Yes, yes, we could say something like this, yeah. Yeah. Still, yeah, even if the tactile sense power pervades the eye sense power, it is the uncommon dominant condition for tactile consciousness, yeah? Yeah.
Yes.
And would it be the dominant condition for an eye consciousness?
No. Only the eye
No.
sense power can be the dominant condition, right? So, but what
Mm.
is uncommon? Uncommon is
Mm.
the fact that it's unique to the eyes. Is that what you mean?
Yes, exactly. Because, for instance, we could say, okay, yes, we could say that, for instance, my tongue is my uncommon dominant condition for my test consciousness, yeah? But it is also a dominant condition for your ear consciousness because you hear my voice and you hear what I say. Yeah? What? Says Jamila. Yes, because my tongue is the uncommon dominant condition for my test consciousness. Yes, it belongs to me, and only because of that I can taste the taste of the jasmine tea. Okay, but that tongue also is one condition for the sentences that I'm saying and that you hear. Yeah, so my tongue is also a dominant condition for your ear consciousness. Wow, fantastic. Okay. Yes, there are some other illustrations about that. Yeah. Yeah. So yes, just a tiny point here, yeah, to make the distinction. Yeah. Okay, and here for the I consciousness, the immediately preceding condition is the substantial cause. You remember the difference between substantial cause and cooperative condition? Yes, a few people say yes. Wow. So it follows you can posit the definition of a substantial cause. No, no. So the substantial cause is the main producer of its substantial effect within its substantial continuum. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, it means that the entity of the substantial cause transforms into the entity of its substantial effect, yeah? Yeah, so that's why here the immediately preceding condition has to be mind. In order to have an I consciousness, which is consciousness, it has to be an instant of consciousness, yeah, the immediately preceding condition. That's its substantial cause. Yeah, everybody agrees?
So
Okay,
actually, can I just ask, so is substantial cause is immediately preceding condition?
yeah, in that case, yes.
Only in this case, oh.
Yes, because we could say that, we could debate, we could say that the dominant condition is also immediately preceding. Yes. So, but here, when we speak about this immediately preceding condition for an I consciousness, yes, it has to be a consciousness anyway. Yeah. And some would say, yeah, it has to be even an I consciousness, but yeah, I'm not sure about that. Yeah, I guess we can debate that. Yes. Okay, we can debate that. But anyway, yeah, that's a preceding moment of mind. Yes. And you remember what we said when Acharya Dharmakirti said, yeah, what is not mind cannot be the substantial cause of mind. Yeah. So that's why here, among the three conditions, only one is mind. Yeah. That's the immediately preceding condition. Yeah. So because that preceding moment of mind produces the subsequent moment of mind, we can say among the types of the causes, it is the substantial cause of that mind. Yeah. Yeah, does it work? Okay, very good. So that's for an eye consciousness, and for an ear consciousness as well. We have the subtle form, which is within the ear. Yeah, it's not the ear itself. Yeah, okay. And we have the effect. Okay, okay. So it works for the ear consciousness, smell consciousness, taste consciousness, and tactile consciousness. Okay, very good. So it's easy. Now, second type of direct perception, a mental direct perception. Okay, so the definition of a mental direct perception is slightly different. We have Yiwang in Tibetan. It's not what was it before? Zuchemba la teneke baromje. Yeah. Yeah, it's Yiwang. Yeah. Okay, here we have dominant condition, the uncommon dominant condition, which is a mental sense power, a mental power. I said just mental power in order to distinguish the sense consciousnesses and the mental consciousness. Because when we say mental sense power, it could be confusing, yeah, but it's just my way to assert that, yeah. Okay, so the definition is an other knowing cognition which is free from conceptualization and non-mistaken, which is produced in dependence on a mental power that has become its uncommon dominant condition. Yeah, okay, very good. So a mental power. Yeah, we will see that. So first we have an other knowing cognition, in Tibetan, yeah. So those definitions are from Yunzin Lorik, yeah, the Yunzin Purbuchok's Lorik. So it's not always the same, yeah, in each textbook, yeah, that's normal. Yeah, sometimes they debate the definitions themselves. Okay, so here we have an other knowing cognition, just to distinguish the mental direct perception from the self-cognition. Yeah, self-cognition is an inner knowing cognition, yeah, as we will see later, yeah. And we spoke a little bit about that, yeah. Okay, so just a tiny point here. The mental direct perception is qualified by Yongzin Purbuchok as an other knowing cognition, yeah. Okay, so for the eye consciousness, we had the eye sense power, yeah, the dominant condition. For the ear consciousness, we had the ear sense power. They are form, yeah, they have form and they are form, yeah, okay. But here, for the mental direct perception, the dominant condition is a mental power, yeah, that's cognition as well. It has to be cognition, yeah. Everybody agrees? Let's check the eyebrows. Everybody agrees that the dominant condition for a mental direct perception has to be a mental event. That's what makes the distinction between a sense consciousness and a mental consciousness. The dominant condition, the uncommon dominant condition, yeah. If it's form, we have a sense consciousness. And if it is cognition, we have a mental consciousness. Yeah, because the object could be the same. We can have a mental direct perception of a mango. Yeah, so the object could be the same. And the immediately preceding condition, that's also the same. It's a preceding moment of mind. Yeah, so the only distinction that can be made is about the uncommon dominant condition. Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
so, no, I didn't
Yes.
understand. I didn't understand the uncommon dominant condition.
Yes.
What was the uncommon dominant condition in the previous for sense in the same
Yes, it was.
example?
Yes, like for instance, for the ear consciousness, we have something which is within the ear. Yeah, so that's a subtle form, a clear form, we could say, and it has to be matter. Yeah.
But a ear consciousness cannot do anything with a mango.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Exactly. My mistake. Okay, so let's posit that the mango is falling from the tree. So, so it's my addiction for debate. Not to say, oh, I made mistake. Yeah, sorry, I should have put something like a guitar or something like this here, yeah? Okay, but let's posit that the mango just fell from the tree. Yeah, so you can hear the noise that the mango makes when it touches the ground, yeah?
So the object is different. So what you said
Yes,
earlier was
exactly.
that the object has to be the same.
Yes. Oh, yes. For the sense consciousnesses, the objects are necessarily different. Yeah. For the eye consciousness, the object is necessarily how we call it?
Yeah. No,
Form source. Yeah,
yeah,
forms.
I understand that, but if we are
And for the
saying that for
yes.
direct sense direct perception and mental direct perception, the object is the same.
Yes, yes. When we try to check the sense consciousness and mental direct perception, for instance, they can have the same objects. Yeah, we can have a mental direct perception which perceives also the mango, or
Yeah.
which perceives the sound of the mango, and so on and so on. Yeah, so that's possible. Yeah, they add that in the epistemology in order to make the how do you say some kind of connection between the sense consciousness and the conceptual consciousness. Yeah. In between, we have a very tiny moment of direct mental perception.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what is the dominant condition if if the mango is here.
Yes, so here the mango fell from the tree, or even the mango was seen by the eye consciousness, and just after there is a very tiny moment of mental direct perception which sees as well, which apprehends the mango as well. Yeah, so it's not accepted everywhere, but it seems that even in the Prasangika, they accept that because His Holiness, the Dalai Lama, says in the books with the Venerable two ten children that for the Prasangika also, we accept a mental direct perception. Yeah.
But what is the dominant condition in seeing that?
Yeah, the
Are you saying that it's so the eye sense power?
Yes. So here it was for the eye perception, yeah, the eye direct perception. We have the mango, then the eye sense power, then the immediately preceding condition, yeah. And the effect is the eye consciousness apprehending the mango, yeah. And for
Yes.
the mental direct perception, because it is a mental consciousness, it cannot have as an uncommon dominant condition a form or matter. It has to be mind.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's
Is
why, yeah.
it a subtle image of the mind of the mango? What is the dominant condition? I'm not understanding.
The subtle image would be the aspect, yeah. So the aspect is on the real time observed by the mind. Yeah, as we saw before, the aspect, yeah. The aspect is the form that is taken by the mind itself, yeah. So the aspect is the resultant state, we could say. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. That's the image of the mango here when we see the effect, yeah. That's the aspect, yeah. But on the causal state, causal stage, we have the three conditions, yeah, the object condition, the dominant condition, and immediately preceding condition. And two are minds. So can we say that we have two minds at that time?
No.
No. So that's why it's only one preceding moment, which is a mental event. Yeah, that's one entity and two isolates. So that's why we studied as well the isolates before. It means that from the side, from the way it is producing a mental consciousness, it's called an uncommon dominant condition. And from the way it is the substantial cause of that mind, it is called an immediately preceding condition. But that's exactly the same mind, yeah, which is conceptualized in two different ways with regard to two different types of functions.
Why do we need a dominant, uncommon, dominant condition at that point? Why do
Yes,
we need it?
that's a good question, but Yonzin Purwochok says if it is a cognition, it necessarily has the three conditions. If it is a cognition, it necessarily has the three types of conditions. So of course, not all the textbooks would agree with that, but Yonzin Lorik would say so. It's a Sheva Yena the Kiensum Yebe Kabate. Yeah, he would say that if it is a cognition, if it is an awareness, it necessarily has the three conditions. Yeah, on one page, he says it necessarily has an object condition. And another page, he says it necessarily has a dominant and immediately preceding condition. So if you add together the two pages, then you have it necessarily has the three conditions. Yeah, so it's just ways to apprehend the functions of the preceding moment. Yeah, like we could say, for instance, we could say like the cup today is the cause of the cup of tomorrow, yeah? And it is also one of the causes of, how do you say, my possibility to drink. I can drink because I have this cup. I can drink tea because I have this cup, yeah? And I can have this cup because it existed just before. So just before, it was the cause of the cup of now, and it was the cause of the way I can drink tea, the possibility for me to drink tea. So we could say, okay, two different types of functions are conceptually isolated, but that's exactly the same cup. Yeah. Does it work? Like we could say, for instance, Palavila is a mother and Palavila is a student. So we can conceptualize two ways for a very same person, yeah, the same entity and two isolates. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, very good. Fantastic.
I have a
Fantastic.
question, sorry.
Yes, please.
For the mental direct perception, which moment is it? It comes between,
Yes,
like if you have a mango, you see a mango, and then it comes after a short moment before the eye consciousness or after the eye consciousness?
yes, the mental direct perception. Yeah, the mental direct perception comes just after the, for the mainstream, we could say. Yeah. Some people would say it comes, you have the first moment of eye consciousness, then followed by a first moment of mental direct perception. Then the second moment of eye consciousness, followed by a second moment of a mental direct perception. That's a way to assert that. And another way to assert that you have the three continuums. You have one continuum of eye consciousness, and along with that, you have one continuum of mental direct perception, and along with that, you have one continuum of self-cognition, apprehending that eye consciousness. But some would debate that. They would say, okay, we should have two or four. Two, then we have eye consciousness and mental direct perception all together. And if we say that the eye consciousness should have a self-cognition, then why the mental direct perception doesn't have any self-cognition? So we should say four types of continuums. Yeah, so that's why the mainstream would say, okay, it's not the first one, the alternating, eye consciousness, mental consciousness, eye consciousness, mental direct perception. So they would say it's not like this. And the others would say, okay, it's not three because we should have four. Yes, self-cognition for the eye consciousness and for the mental consciousness. So why three? So they say it's at the end of a sense consciousness, we have a tiny short moment of mental direct perception. Yeah.
At the end of a sense consciousness.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it is explained like this because they don't accept the first two options.
And then if we have simultaneously we have eye consciousness, ear consciousness,
Yes.
taste consciousness, then simultaneously we have three mental consciousnesses belonging to each sense consciousness.
Yeah, so
Because your first moment of ear consciousness has the first moment, or then the mental consciousness of your ear consciousness, right?
yes.
Small moment, and then the eye consciousness. Then after this comes the small moment of the direct mental consciousness.
Yes.
No?
Yes, we could say that we have many minds working all together. Yeah, when we see things, we see the screen, for instance, we can hear at the same time the voices of the persons, yeah? So we have different minds working together, but only one mind of each type, yeah? We cannot have two mental minds at the same time.
Oh, we cannot?
Yeah.
But then the direct mental consciousness at one moment directly perceives the eye consciousness, ear consciousness.
Yes. Yes, I should say we cannot have two mental consciousnesses at the same time apprehending the same object. That's even more precise. Yeah.
Okay, then we can apprehend several types of objects at the same time.
Yes. Yes, we
So
can
then
see.
if we apprehend at the same time, I'm apprehending your voice and I'm seeing you.
Yes.
I have two type of mental consciousnesses, one hearing your voice and one seeing you.
Yes. Exactly. So that's a good reasoning. Yeah. That's a very good reasoning. So then at that time, okay, yeah, so they would say maybe the mental direct perception that is following an eye consciousness is not apprehending exactly the same thing as the mental direct perception following the ear consciousness. Yeah, because the voice is sound. Yeah, so the tiny moment of mind which is following the ear consciousness is apprehending sound and not the face of the person. Yeah.
That's why I need two, at least two direct
Yes.
mental consciousnesses
Yes, but they
at
don't
the
have
simultaneously with different
simultaneously
objects, but
as
simultaneously.
different objects. Exactly.
Okay, then
Different
I have 5 sense consciousness, direct sense consciousnesses, and at least 5 mental, direct mental consciousnesses. And then
Exactly.
I don't know, maybe then the mental consciousness also could have a mental object, maybe.
Yes, you could have, for instance, why not? Why not if you have a clairvoyance, for instance, it's a mental direct perception. But here they speak about a very specific type of mental direct perception, which is indicated in this occasion, literally. They would say like this, yeah. The other types of mental direct perceptions are easier in one sense, the clairvoyances. Yes, when you have shamatha, for instance, you cultivated the calm abiding, then that calm abiding would be the uncommon condition for clairvoyance. Yeah, for instance. Okay, so those clairvoyance is also, you don't need to have shamatha. Like for instance, a bardoa, someone in the bardo has a natural clairvoyance, yeah, a karmic clairvoyance, can see the other persons from the same type. Like if I die and let's suppose, hopefully that I will take rebirth as a human being, in the bardo, I would see the other people who would take rebirth as human beings in the bardo. So that's a very specific type of clairvoyance, karmic clairvoyance. Yeah. So we don't need shamatha for that. Yeah. So it's a mental direct perception. Yeah. But this one, the very specific one, which follows a sense consciousness or sense mental direct sense direct perception, is very specific. It's indicated on this occasion, yeah. And Acharya Dharmakirti is forced in one sense to explain that. Yeah, he's forced to explain that in a way that is not accepting the Nayayika's views or the Vaisheshika's views that we could have direct conceptual cognitions. Yes, that's a bit complicated. Yeah. So some non-Buddhist schools would say we have direct conceptual consciousnesses, and Sotrantika and the others, except maybe the Prasangika, would say if it is a direct perception, it's necessarily not conceptual. And when the Buddha says we have those minds which depend on the eye and which depend on the mind, they have to explain those direct perceptions which are mental because they depend on the mind and they are not conceptual. So they have to explain those mental direct perceptions which are not clairvoyances. So that's why they are forced to explain that in one sense. That's what Geshe Dreyfus says in teaching about the two truths according to the four tenets. Yeah. So yeah, it's a bit confusing. Yeah. Okay.
And what can be the objects of mental direct perception? So it can
Yeah.
be any form source, so
Yeah.
mango,
Yes,
guitar
exactly.
sound, and it can
Yeah.
also be mental.
Yes, it would be like those specific types of mental direct perceptions, which are following the sense direct perceptions. We can call them mental direct perceptions apprehending forms. Yeah, Zugzi Yingen in Tibetan. Zugzi Yingen is very specific. It's that very shortest moment of time of mental consciousness apprehending what apprehended the eye consciousness just before, or what apprehended the ear consciousness just before, and so on. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so for those epistemologists, it's a very shortest moment of time. Yeah, so it's a partless moment of time. So of course, the Prasangika would not accept partless moments of time, but they would say, okay, it can be a shortest moment of time. So because it is too fast, it's inattentive for ordinary beings. Yeah. Okay, very
Thank you.
good.
I have
Fantastic.
a question,
Yes, please.
Christophe. So this immediately preceding condition, can we say this is a receptive mind?
Yes, yes, because we need our mind to turn towards the object, yeah? Otherwise, it becomes inattentive, yeah? So, yeah, as we said before, you know, it's not because we have an experience of something that it has to ascertain its object. So that's why we could say that the mental consciousness has to be here in order for the sense consciousness to fully apprehend its object, we could say. Yeah, like if you watch a movie in the you know in the cinema, then you have the the faces and so on, then the voices and so on, and the popcorn and so on. So then we could say that your mind is oscillating between all those objects, and your mental consciousness is the main point. Yeah, if you have interest for the scene, for the landscape, for instance, then you are fully into that. And maybe you are less apprehending the popcorn taste. But if you find another popcorn which is much more sweet, or I don't know, then you could fully you could turn fully your attention to that. Yeah, so that's why we could say that the mind is oscillating between objects. Why not? Yeah.
Is that the similar? Can we say that's that immediately preceding condition would be lacking in the case of laxity when we talk about the meditative concentration, when we're trying to keep the object of meditation in focus,
Yeah.
but there is laxity, so that immediately preceding condition of being receptive towards it is missing.
We could say that as long as you have a mind, you necessarily need its substantial cause. So you necessarily need an immediately preceding condition. It has to be here anyway. But maybe in the case of the laxity and so on, maybe the mental factors could be different in their intensity, like attention. Yeah, attention or mental application, we can call it differently. Yeah. Yeah, mindfulness as well. Yeah, we can call it like this, mindfulness. Yeah, it could be a bit low or a bit higher and so on. That could depend on that, I guess. Yeah.
So immediately preceding condition can be clear or non-clear, and similarly,
Yes.
more vigilant or not.
Yes, exactly. That immediately preceding condition could be associated with some intensity, with some mental factors, or less intensity with those mental factors. Why not? Exactly. Yeah, because as you know, we have the 5 omnipresent mental factors, yeah, that you know by heart. Puff, 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 puff.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Contact.
Contact, attention, discrimination, feeling, and intention.
Yeah, fantastic. Wow, so nice. Okay. Yes, and the attention, yes, we can call it also mental application. And that that's what makes the mind you know, apprehending fully its object or not, in one sense, yeah. And we have also mindfulness, yeah, in the determining mental factors, yeah, mindfulness. And mindfulness can be less intense or more intense and so on, yeah. So of course, all those mental factors, the omnipresent mental factors, has to be here anyway, but maybe their intensity can change, I guess. Yeah,
I see. Okay, thank you.
very good. Fantastic. Okay, so many things to say about those points. So now just it's a short presentation, yeah, of the 4 types of direct perceptions. So we have the self-knowing direct perception. It's the self-cognition, yeah, as we saw before, yeah. So the definition is a bit shorter, topadondeshim atruet zinam in Tibetan, yeah. An apprehending aspect which is free from conceptualization and non-mistaken, yeah. Okay, very good. So as we said before, I lost the cams. I lost the cameras. I don't see you. Sorry, I tried to check again where they are. Okay. Sorry. And I put shared screen again. Yes. Okay. Yes, it works. No, it doesn't work. I don't have the cams anymore, but that's okay. That's okay. So as we said before, we have the aspect, yeah? Yeah, the aspect is cast by the object, yeah? Like if we have a sense consciousness, like if we see a cup, the cup casts an aspect to the eye consciousness and so on. Okay, so we saw that previously. And we saw that in recognizing reality, there are some explanations about this zinam, yeah, the apprehending aspect, which is the self-cognition. And also in science and philosophy, in the Indian
Can
Buddhist
I
classics.
ask very
Yes,
quickly,
please.
how can
Yeah.
aspect is cast by the object, or is it an like the subject is is actually projecting some aspect, no, to the object? How can an object, inanimate object, cast anything?
Yes, yes. Like, okay, like for instance, if you have a lamp and then you move just in front of the lamp, you can cast a shadow on the wall. Yeah. So
Okay.
the lamp, the light of the lamp is casting a shadow on the wall, no?
The light of the lamp is putting a shadow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we can say that still the light of the lamp is inanimate. Yeah.
So the aspect is not, aspect is not subjective, it's objective.
So the aspect, we have different kinds of aspects. There is the object aspect, which is the object itself. We have the subject aspect, which is the real aspect, as we call it. And this subjective aspect is divided into 2. The apprehending aspect and the apprehended aspect. Yeah, the apprehended aspect is turned towards the object, we could say. And the apprehending aspect is the self-cognition. Yeah, that's the mind turned towards the mind itself.
Okay.
Yeah, very good. And it helps the epistemologists to understand, to explain memory, the memory of the subject itself, yeah, more especially. Yeah, they would say, did I see a mango or not? If I can remember that I saw a mango, it means that when I saw the mango, my mind saw itself, realized itself, apprehending a mango. Yeah.
Okay. That's the subjective apprehending aspect.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So when we see maybe for now, yeah, for this mango, this image of the mango, when you see that, your eye consciousness is seeing itself apprehending the mango. And later you could say, oh, I saw a mango. Who saw a mango? I saw a mango. Because you remember yourself apprehending that mango. Yeah,
Can I say this way that, you know, so we had talked about the mental direct
yes,
sense direct. So can I associate the mental direct perception,
yeah,
seeing subjectively apprehending the mango
yes, exactly. Your
and the
mental.
sense, yeah.
Yes, when you have this eye consciousness apprehending the mango, then after you have the shortest moment of mental direct perception apprehending that mango, and that mental direct perception also has a self-cognition.
Yeah. But the
But
I consciousness,
yeah,
I sense power,
yeah,
apprehending the mango does not have self-consciousness. Self, what did you say? Self?
yeah, self-cognition, yeah. They
Yeah,
all have. Yes,
they all have
they all
self-cognition.
have, yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's automatic. You don't need to put effort for that. Yeah, it's not like when you try to cultivate vigilance or introspection, you know, like when you try to meditate and so on, and or maybe like if you try to meditate on mind itself, yeah, your mind knows itself, yeah, but it is not the self-cognition. The self-cognition is very specific. It's like a carbon paper. Who knows what is a carbon paper? I cannot ask you to raise your hands because I don't see the cams. I put them outside of the screen. Who knows?
Christoph, if you go on the top, I think Zoom changed it. If you go on the top, you have like two windows. I have like screen and meeting. If you go to meeting, then you
Okay,
can see the cams if you go back to screen. Yeah, I
okay.
think it's new in Zoom. I was also wondering.
Where is it? Okay, I try to check maybe.
At least on
Um,
my Zoom, it's on the top, like having
um,
two different windows open.
okay, I have like participants, chat.
That's at the bottom or is it at the top? So at the top, you'll have recording and view.
Yes.
I think if you click view,
Okay.
and
Okay.
click standard,
Okay. Ah, yes, maybe. Okay. Information, partager l'audio. Mhm. Réaction. Okay. C'est pas ça. Maybe I try again with the cams. Okay.
so
Okay.
if you see
Yes,
in
please.
the top, there's a panel recording and view.
Yes.
Minimize. So the view, if you click on that view, that's what's messing it up, I think.
Ah, yes. Okay. Down. Gallery. Okay. Let's try again. Okay, now it disappeared. Ah, yes, yes, it is here. Okay, yes, I can see you.
Yay.
Yeah, I can see the eyebrows. Okay. Good. So now you can raise your hand if you wish. So who knows what is a carbon paper? Yes. Yes, everybody. Okay, so when you write, you need to write only one time, yeah, not two times. You need to put effort to write one time, but it is writing two times. Yes. Okay. Yeah, so exactly for the self-cognition, you don't need to put effort to know your mind. It knows itself directly. As long as you know something, your mind knows itself knowing that thing. Yeah, so it is automatic. So that's why I use that that illustration. Okay, so of course we will debate about that later. Yeah, it's just a very, very raw introduction. Yeah. And now we have the most important one. Well, yogic direct perceptions. We need to cultivate them in order to get liberated from suffering. Yeah. Okay. So the definition of a yogic direct perception is a bit longer. It's an other knowing wisdom, which is free from concept realization and non-mistaken in the continuum of an Arya, and which is produced in dependence on a samadhi, which is the union of shamatha and vipassana, and that has become its uncommon dominant condition. Okay, so let's see slowly. each point. So as you know, that has become its uncommon dominant condition, because you need that very specific type of condition in order to have that yogic direct perception. Yeah. Because, for instance, if you read Mind in Tibetan Buddhism, commented by Lati Rinpoche, yeah, he would say the textbook, the original textbook from Geshe Jambal Sampel would say that the mental, the yogic direct perceptions and the self-cognitions are classified in mental consciousnesses. Yeah. Because, you know, we can divide the minds into two. Either it is sense consciousness or a mental consciousness. And because the yogic direct perceptions and the self-cognitions are not sense cognitions, they are necessarily classified into the mental consciousnesses. But we saw just before that we have clairvoyance. Some people have clairvoyances. Yeah? Some people, and we all have self-cognitions. Yeah, we don't need to put effort to have them. But in order to have a yogic direct perception, is very, very specific. So that's why the samadhi, that's very specific type of samadhi, has to be its uncommon dominant condition. Yeah, so that's just to specify that. And it is a wisdom kemba in Tibetan. Kemba is just the honorific way to express rikpa or shepa, cognition. Yeah, because it is in the continuum of an arya, and an arya being among, you know, when the Buddhist people, they take refuge in the three jewels. When we take refuge in the Sangha Ratna or the Sangha jewel, it's necessarily at least an Arya being. Yeah. So that's why we use a kind of honorific way to express their wisdom, yeah, their knowledge. Okay, so it's just, we could say Sheba in Tibetan or Rikpa, but because it is an Arya, we call it a wisdom. Yeah, it's just another way. Okay, and it is an other knowing wisdom because we have to distinguish it from the self-cognition. Yeah, it is not a self-knowing wisdom, it is an other knowing wisdom. But Lati Rinpoche says we could discard that part because the self-cognition doesn't have as its uncommon dominant condition a samadhi. Yeah, it arises automatically. Yeah, as you know. Yeah, we just spoke about that.
So I'm sorry, to understand yogic direct perception a little bit better.
Yes.
Yogic direct perception sees emptiness as other knowing, not self-knowing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So the objects of the yogic direct perception are specified by Yungzin Purbuchok when he speaks about a valid yogic perception. Yeah, he speaks about the selflessness or the two types, or the subtle impermanence, or the two types of selflessness. Yeah, but for the Sotrantika, that's very specific types of selflessnesses. They are very gross according to the Prasangika. Yeah, it's the emptiness of Atman, so the permanent, unitary and autonomous self, or the emptiness of self-sufficiently autonomous self. Yeah, self-sufficient substantial self. Yeah. So those are very gross according to the Prasangika. Yeah, but Yonzin Purbuchok would specify them only when he speaks about the valid yogic perception. Yeah, yeah. Here it's just the broadest category, direct perception, divided into four: sense, mental, self-cognition, and yogic direct perception. Then after we can divide them in valid cognition, subsequent cognition, and so on. Yeah.
Okay.
We will do that later. But yes, the mind, if we speak about the Prasangika, mind realizing emptiness, yeah, mind and its emptiness, yeah, they are one entity, but it follows that they are one. We debated about that on Monday, no?
No, they're not one.
They are not one. They are not one because
Wait, mind and can you repeat?
yes, the mind of the Arya, which is realizing directly emptiness. Yeah, so that mind and its emptiness, yeah, or any kind of emptiness realized by that mind, it follows that they are one.
Why?
Okay, it follows that they are not one.
Except
They are not one because
they are not one because the because I don't know actually, one is permanent, one is not permanent.
yes, exactly. Which one is permanent?
One with one with them.
Yes. Okay, yes, one with is permanent. Okay. Yes. But we could say, okay, yeah, the emptiness itself is permanent, yeah?
Yes, emptiness itself is permanent.
It is permanent because
It's not changing moment to moment.
okay, it follows that if it is not changing moment by moment, it's necessarily permanent.
Except
Okay, it follows that another rabbit.
no, it's a phenomenon. No, is it?
Ah.
Yeah, it's a phenomenon that is not changing moment to moment.
Yeah, it follows that if it is a phenomenon that it's not changing moment by moment, it's necessarily permanent.
Except
Yes, we could say because emptiness is a mere negation, yeah, is a non-affirming negation. It has to be permanent, yeah. And the mind, which is realizing emptiness, is impermanent because it's mind. It has to change moment by moment, yeah. So they
yes,
are contradictory, yeah. Okay, very good. Still, the experience-wise, the Arya would not see its own mind, his own mind or her own mind, yeah, because it's a conventional truth. Yeah, for a non-Buddha, either they see directly emptiness or they see directly conventional truth, and they cannot see both at the same time. Only a Buddha is able to do so. Yeah, so that's why they would not see their own minds. Yeah, so that's why they speak about like clear water, which is mixed with clear water, mind and the emptiness apprehending or realized by that mind. Yeah, but still the mind itself would not be apprehended. Yeah, because
okay.
it's a
It can
conventional.
be apprehended one moment and not the other moment. Like
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they can see it and then they'll recognize, oh, I saw it the next moment.
yes, exactly, because that yogic direct perception has a self-cognition. For the
Yeah,
non-prasangika, yeah, or many non-prasangikas, yeah, because it has a self-cognition. That self-cognition is realizing that mind, realizing emptiness. So afterwards, in post-meditative, post-meditation, they would say, "Oh, I realized emptiness. I was realizing emptiness." Yeah, but
yeah.
on the spot, they cannot say so. Yeah, the only emptiness appears. Okay, so that's a tiny point. And then free from conceptualization and non-mistaken because a yogic direct perception is a direct perception. That's easy. In the continuum of an Arya, yeah, for the non-prasangika, the yogic direct perception occurs only in the continuum of an Arya. Yeah, for the prasangika, even an ordinary being can have a yogic direct perception, yeah, of subtle impermanence or the emptiness of self-sufficiently substantial existent person and so on. Yeah. Yeah. An Arya for the Prasangika is a person who has a direct realization, non-conceptual realization of emptiness. Yep. Okay, very good. Very
But
good. And
if can it be that an ordinary person experience emptiness but doesn't know that it is experiencing emptiness?
so yeah, if it is emptiness of inherent existence, that person, in order to have the experience, direct experience of that emptiness, that person necessarily studied emptiness before and reflected about emptiness before. Yeah. because the direct yogic perception on emptiness is a wisdom, a reason from meditation. And that wisdom, a reason from meditation, necessarily occurs after a wisdom, a reason from contemplation or reflection, and a wisdom, a reason through learning. Yeah. Yeah. So it's in that order necessarily. Yeah.
Christophe,
Yes. Yes.
the ordinary person who has realized emptiness, so those persons we won't tell like uh, they are on the path of seeing and above, right?
Yeah, so they cannot be ordinary persons, yeah, because if they are on the path of seeing and above, they are necessarily Arya beings, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then, but still they have seen emptiness, right?
Yes, exactly. So they cannot be ordinary persons anymore. Yeah,
It's
because
okay. Okay.
yeah, for the past.
Once an ordinary person realizes emptiness, then
Oh yes.
automatically he becomes an Arya.
Yes, fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
So,
So
but
we could say an area of his or her path. Yeah, because maybe we saw that before. You have, for instance, a Shravaka, which becomes an Arya and an Arhat. Yeah. So that person is an Arya, yeah, necessarily. Yeah. Then that person cultivates bodhicitta and has a spontaneous bodhicitta. So that person becomes a bodhisattva. Yeah. But is an Arya and is a bodhisattva, but is not an Arya bodhisattva yet. Yeah, because that person has to realize emptiness directly on the path of seeing and meditation in order to be an Arya Bodhisattva. Yeah, so that's just for debate, we could say, okay, if it's a person on the Mahayana path which has a direct realization on emptiness, it's not necessarily an Arya Bodhisattva, because it can be an Arhat who has a direct realization on emptiness that cultivated bodhicitta. So that's a bodhisattva, and that's an Arya, but it's not an Arya bodhisattva. Yes, but as you're right, Satan Mola, generally speaking, if we speak about definite lineage Mahayanist, so someone who entered the path directly from the Mahayana, so that person, when that person has a direct realization on emptiness, of emptiness, it's necessarily on the path of seeing and the path of meditation. Yeah? And of course, also on the path of no more learning, because the Buddha has necessarily a direct realization of emptiness as well. Yeah. And before that, that person is an ordinary being. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, before the path of seeing. Yeah. So that's why I make it more complicated. That's why the Arhat of the Pratimokshayana, the Arhat of the Shravaka path, for instance, who cultivated bodhicitta, yeah, he's an Arya and he's a bodhisattva, but he's an ordinary bodhisattva. Yes, it's he's an ordinary being, an ordinary Mahayanist.
so because of, let's say it's rebirth, and when you're saying continuum of an Arya, and
Yes.
now there is this person who is born in a regular in a life, but somehow um is a good human being, is doing good things, whether or not they have been taught that you should do good things, and whether they're just a wonderful person, and lives at, there are some geniuses that that live on a different plane. So whether or not they have been taught and they have realized, maybe they are the continuum from a previous birth, they have an understanding that they haven't been taught in this lifetime, but they're functioning at a very different level. And that is, so they could experience, and but maybe they're not in a Buddhist sangha, or they're not in a, maybe they're just in a regular life somewhere, but they're functioning because of a previous, is that a continuum, or are we talking about in this lifetime we have to be in this continuum?
Yes, it depends. There are so many different types of beings, but yes, we can say that of course, if the person has a realization on emptiness, that person necessarily heard teachings on emptiness from another continuum. Yeah, that's what Lama Tsongkhapa would say in the Uma Gungparapse, yeah, his commentary from Acharya Chandrakirti's Madhyamaka Avatara. We necessarily need to receive teachings on emptiness from another continuum, another being, yeah. And from that point after, then we can try to analyze emptiness, and we could realize emptiness before being an Arya being, because it could be an inferential realization. Yeah, we need to study that after. So if it's an inferential valid cognition on emptiness, and if that realization doesn't degenerate, that person would have very good imprints and for the next life, and then realize easily emptiness and so on. Yeah? But yes, we need to study that. My plan was to explain the 4 direct perceptions and also the different types of those direct perceptions, like valid cognition, subsequent cognition, and inattentive cognition, except for the yogic perception. Then after the other type of valid perception, valid cognition, which will be the inferential valid cognition. Yeah. Then when we study that, we will study the subsequent cognitions, then the the inattentive cognition, doubt consciousness, correct assumption, wrong cognitions, and so on, and so many good stuff for debate as well. Yeah, when we try to compare phenomena and cognitions and so on. Yeah. So still, we will speak again about those points. Yeah, the Arya beings and so on. Yeah? But if it's clear for you for the moment that it's only in the continuum of an Arya being, then that's okay. And the Samadhi, which is the union of Shamatha and Vipassana, I put 2 definitions here in the same folder that you have in English about Shamatha and Vipassana from Lama Tsumpa. And there are some other types of definitions given by Sermek and Sulo Sontachi Rinpoche in pointing the way to reasoning. Maybe I will add them as well. Okay, so Shamatha is the calm abiding, is the focalization, yeah, one point, how do you say? One pointed
Single point.
yes, so single pointed meditation. Thank you. And Vipassana is a kind of
Analytical meditation.
yes, it's one kind of analytical meditation, even if in that case of the Arya being, he has a Vipassana in his continuum, but he's not analyzing anymore because he has a direct perception. So among analytical meditation and Vipassana, we have 4 possibilities. Okay, very good. But it's a very special type of analytical meditation in general. Yeah, very good. Fantastic. Then just to conclude on those points, we have direct perceptions, which are valid cognitions, yeah, the most important types. Then we have also direct perceptions, which are subsequent cognitions, which are so important as well during meditation. And the direct perceptions, which are inattentive cognitions. Yeah, so we will try to debate those points slowly, yeah. If you have a few questions, or if it's clear, then we can leave now, for now. Yeah, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry for the some details. Sometimes it's a bit more complicated, but yeah, I guess that as the Bodhisattva Shantideva said, "Gomnarawa Mingyu Wengende Ganya Yamayin," there is nothing that doesn't become easier with training. No, we have hope. Thank you so much. It was a great pleasure again, and see you next time. And on Monday, if you have time, we can debate like some basic points as well, or those points that we saw today. Yeah, thank you so much. It was a great pleasure. For the sake of all the beings. Yeah, thank you so much.
Christophe, I just want to ask, if we can incorporate for every Wednesday class, if you are preparing the lecture and say, learn these definitions. If you say,
Yes.
learn these 5 definitions for this week, then we will focus on those definitions. Because I think I'm going in one direction, and the next time you ask a question, I'm like, I don't remember. I studied something else. So it would help if like we are saying, okay, this week we'll all learn this. Next week we'll all learn this. Then we can
Yeah,
practice.
that's a good idea. Very
Yeah.
good idea. Yeah, thank you, Palavila. Yeah, we'll try to do like this. Yeah. So please try to recap those definitions that we saw today.
For
And,
today, for next week, you will test us because next week you'll start
Yes.
new definitions. So that's what I'm
Yes.
saying. If you're teaching something next week,
Yes, yes, and also, yeah, that's a good point because on the definitions that you have, yeah, in that folder, I added the very important one, valid cognition. It was not there, so I added that. And yes, please try to learn the definition of a valid cognition, and if you can recap those definitions that we saw today, so direct perception, sense direct perception, of course, for the self-cognizing, self-cognition, mental direct perception. For the yogic direct perception, if you know the main points, that's okay. If you don't know the definition by heart, that's okay. Yeah, we can try to recap those points next time. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you very much. I will try to do like this. Yeah. For the
you.
sake of all the beings, take care and see you next time.
Thank you so
Bye
much,
bye.
Christophe.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye bye.